Good evening, good evening, good evening. What's going on, Falcon fans, sports fans? You already know what time it is. Welcome to the Birdcage. You already know. Before we get this show started, please hit that subscribe button if you are on YouTube. Get those likes up for us. We're going to continue to keep bringing the content to you from here, from there, from everywhere. But we definitely want to continue to have viewers like you coming in, and we're very thankful. Today, we got a special one coming. We got a Falcons legend in the building today. One of my childhood icons that I looked up to when I used to strap on the pads back in the day. But you know what? I'm not gonna talk too much about it. We getting ready to go ahead and bring this brother in, one of the best of all time to put on that Falcon logo. You already know how we get down, baby. Let's ride. Birdcage, we in the building.
Okay, y'all, this is it.
Welcome, 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 welcome. Oh, we got a hot one today. We not even gonna sit back and wait. We just gonna go ahead and start bringing my guys into the building. First off, we got to bring my right hand man in, K Dub, Killian Killer, K Dub Worthy. What's going on, brother?
What's up, BirdCage family? What's up, BirdCage listeners and subscribers? Glad to have you here in the building. If you haven't been told, if you haven't been sold, go ahead and like, share, subscribe. BirdCage LLC is in the building.
Yes, sir. And next, we got to bring one of our heartbeats of the group. He's one of the guys, we call him the Black Wall Street Journal. You know, he brings the scoop before it even drops, before even the ink touches the newspaper. My man, Cinque, better known as Scoop. What's going on, brother?
What's going on, fellas? What's going on, Birdcage? Let's get it.
Oh, don't do it to us tonight, Scoop. You're freezing on us.
Not tonight.
Well, you know what? The best part about it is now it has unfroze, my brother, and I'm happy to announce that. So we got you back in the game. So what's going on, man? How you feeling? How's everything going? We see you've been putting in a little work today. What's going on, brother?
Hey, man. Just another day in the office. I'm looking forward to the Cobb County legend, Atlanta Falcon legend. I had to add that into it. You know, we getting it in today.
You know what? That's one thing I'm gonna say about all y'all boys from out there on the east side of the city, man. All y'all boys stick together. Hey, man, you know I'm from the Swats, baby, from and grew up around the west side of the city. But ain't no love lost because he missed. Y'all east side boys produce some of the best athletes in the city. But we got them out there on the west side too, so you know what's happening. But we ain't gonna get into all that. It's just a blessing that we were able to take Mr. Mathis out of his busy schedule just to come talk to us. I feel special. He got me feeling love. I feel lovely today. How about you?
Yeah, feel real good in the neighborhood.
I had a Randy Watson moment just now. How he said, "Y'all look so lovely, don't you agree?"
Let's go, baby.
But let's get to it though. We're gonna step to the out the cage topics real quick before we bring in Mr. Mathis, the guest of honor tonight. So, out the cage starting off, we gotta first give a shout out and condolences to the King family. Dr. Christine King Ferris, Martin Luther King Jr.'s last sibling, has passed away today at 95 years old. I know this is a football show, but at the same time, this is history right here because this was another pillar in the Atlanta community that passed away. So condolences to the King family. And then we have Ryan Mallett, who passed away recently, drowning down in Florida. He's a high school coach, 35 years old, still young, praying for he and the family to get things squared away. And just hoping that God can bring peace to their family as well.
Here on that note, that we're going to speaking on that topic. Ryan Mallett's passing. We want to send the condolences out to that family, and also just give just continue to pray for the people out there that are swimming out there in those rip currents that they heed warning when they're out there on those beaches. It's very
most
dangerous.
definitely rip currents are that's something that you deal with. Like me being former Coast Guard, being out in that water, I definitely have a different respect for it because I've seen what that can do, and it's a rough thing. So for that family, the kids, his players, just praying for comfort for them at this time. But we're not gonna stay on a sad note because we have a few things that we are gonna get to today. We're gonna talk about our Falcons, but before we get to the Falcons or whatnot, we're gonna bring in our special guest, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Terance Mathis.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mathis. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. How you guys doing?
Doing great. Great to have you in the building.
Great, sir.
Bless, Coach. Bless.
It feels like we went through a training camp to get me on this show. I'm like, good gracious. I was like, we was getting prepared for this. I was like, okay, I need to go run and get ready, run some routes, catch some balls or something.
Yeah,
Coach, you still look like you got it, Coach.
You probably would have made me look stupid because I'm a former DB. So me and Mr. Tony Blaylock, who we had on last week, he told me to make sure that he said, you make sure you give him some good questions.
Okay. Yeah, make sure you do. I ain't scared of nothing now. Come on. You asked. I'm telling you this right now. You ask a question. Be careful what you ask because you might get the answer you don't want.
All right. Let's
Ooh, he coming in throwing hot sauce early.
He throwing Texas Pete around here.
Hey, way to represent that DeKalb County there, Coach.
That's right. That's right. DeKalb County. In high school finest.
You know what's funny? You throwing around some spiciness like you just had a Chanterelles plate from over there in the West End.
What? Where?
Over in the West End, Chanterelles. I'm
Dude,
just messing around.
I can't even spell the West End. I'm so far east.
It's okay. It's okay. We'll let you have that one though. We'll let you have that one.
This finna be a good one here. It's finna be a
We
good
see
one.
this now. So let's get to it. So we're gonna start off with our Dirty Bird topics, which we talk about the Falcons or whatnot first before we get into our interview process. So you're amongst the players, the locker room, and also your podcast that you have with Mr. William Brandon, the host of Dirtybirdz Talk. You guys got to check them out. Some of the best information you can get for Falcon football. I'm not even gonna sit there and lie. I get a couple of things from there for the show sometimes or whatnot. Little cheat, Hey, you gotta use your notes.
You gotta have a cheat sheet. If you don't have a cheat sheet, you ain't trying to win. Come on, man.
Exactly. Come on. Always. So we're gonna go ahead and get this started, Mr. Mathis, with our Dirty Bird topics. So one of the things that has concerned a lot of Falcon fans, ourselves, we've debated this on here. Me and Sinclair are former DBs, so we just kind of look at each other like, man, we just hope these two guys can come in, make an impact, and stay healthy because they've had issues with their health. Jeff Okudah and Mike Hughes has been a bit of a concern amongst the fan base and even some people in the media, whatnot. They're good players, but what do you think it takes for them to stay healthy and make an impact for this organization?
Change of scenery. Already change of scenery. They're somewhere where they want to be, where we want them to be, where the organization want them here. So change of scenery. And then you got to understand for with Okudah, you know, you don't have to be that dude because you got Terrell on the other side. So you can go ahead and play relax and shut down the number 2 receiver and let Terrell do his thing. So I think for Okudah, this is huge for him. Change of scenery, because you got to understand, you get drafted that high in the first round and you feel like you haven't been productive. You're looking at not only the fans, but the organization is looking at you like, oh man, we made a mistake. So it's a lot of pressure on you. So you feel like you're not giving a fair shot. So now you come to a situation where, yeah, you're expected to excel, but you're not expected to be that dude. But he get a chance to take his time to get himself together, to stay healthy and be productive for us.
Okay. Scoop, what you got?
I agree with Coach, man. Being able to switch cities and go into a new situation. And again, like our team is on the come up. So you could tell that, you know, with Arthur Smith, he wants the hungry guys. And they got something to prove. Okudah definitely has something to prove because he's a top draft pick. And a lot of people are now trying to lean towards him, calling him a bust. But shoot, if he balls out this year, he might get a big payday.
And it's funny because one of my old high school teammates, good friend of mine, shout out to my boy Rick Evans or whatnot. He's a Detroit Lions fan. He's born, you know, he's a Detroit kid. But he, you know, we ended up playing in Florida together, high school ball and stuff. But at the end of the day, you know, he was kind of like, man, y'all getting damaged goods. I said, well, I don't see it as damaged goods. I just see maybe he might have got tired of being in a losing culture in Detroit, just being honest. But so K-Dub, what do you think?
I mean, I'm gonna piggyback on what all you guys are saying, but I just feel like it's just like looking at it just like a job. You know, sometimes just like this 9 to 5 type of job. I'm trying to say is when you go in there, you know, maybe it's something behind the scenes. I'm sure Terance has a better understanding because he played in the league. That it may be just something about that organization I just don't care for. It may be something I've seen, something that happened to me in the off season. Maybe I've gotten robbed up there. I didn't tell nobody about it or something. I mean, it could be all kinds of scenarios. I mean, the coaching staff is not getting the best out of me. You know, I don't feel like they're developing me the right way. I feel like I just need to get to a different situation. And then when you get to that different situation, maybe I don't like the climate. I don't like being in cold weather. I produce better in the warmer weather. I mean, it could be all kinds of issues, but I feel like we made the right decision, and we'll just see what happens when the season starts, and we'll get everybody on the right page.
Okay. Well, we definitely are interested in seeing what these gentlemen are going to bring to the table on the defensive side of the ball because, you know, we as fans have complained about defense the whole time, and we've said this defense has literally been soft, and I'm not going to mince words, been soft. You know, now you have a chance to change the culture. You're bringing in some veteran leadership, and you're bringing in guys that have a little bit of experience on that back end side of things. We got to make sure that we have everything squared away, everything right, so we can make sure we can help this offense out with this ball control offense that we're running. So next topic at hand. We are marketed over in Germany now. A lot of people forget about the World Football League and how big it was over there in the early mid-90s or whatnot. And Germany was one of those places that was always rocking football-wise. And now that we're going to have future games slated overseas, what type of advantage do you think we're going to have over in the German market, Mr. Mathis, with those fans that have already started to show up and show out and pay for Falcons gear?
Okay.
Tell the truth, Coach. Tell the truth.
The NFL is trying to mimic the NBA to try to get fans from across the waters, and they're doing a great job at it. But at the end of the day, they cannot capture the market the way they want to because you're not having any international influx of players coming to the United States to play football. Now, if you're going to Germany or wherever you're going and you're going to scout, you go early, you go to scout, you go have a little mini camp of German athletes and say, hey, maybe we assign one to the practice squad or future signage or whatsoever. Now you're creating a market. Now you're creating a bigger market because at the end of the day, me personally, I rather play at home. With that for the players, it does nothing for the players. It's all about the organization and the NFL, the shield and the logo of the Falcons or whoever's going over to play. It's not really about the players because the players could care less if they go or not. But probably they'd rather be at home than travel over there and then have to travel all those hours back. I think, just say what it is. We're trying to grow the game internationally. And I think they're trying to mimic the NBA, but they're missing one key thing is the athletes. You don't have these foreign athletes as an influx into the NFL that you're marketing to those who are from Germany, who are from Japan, who are from Italy, who are from all these countries that live. You got a fan base here in America, and they don't see anyone that they can really cheer for and say, hey, that's our guy. So until you do that, I think that's when it becomes a big deal.
Okay. That definitely makes sense. Scoop, what you got?
Well, you'll like my take. I don't see how I'm going to bypass HBCUs to cross the water. So, I mean, I got people already on my turf that I should be able to market to, but I'm ignoring them to go across the water. So I don't agree with that philosophy. Right. Now, I know we got like a string of African ties because we are starting to get a lot of athletes that have the African heritage. But just like Coach said, like the focus of trying to go global and take that NBA, and I say even Major League Baseball got that similar take too with the Asian players and the Dominican players. Right. But with football, I mean, you can't take something competitive over there because I mean, you look at the Pro Bowl. The Pro Bowl ain't competitive.
Nope.
But if you take like world baseball, if you take about the Dream Team with the Olympics, we can't do the same thing with our sport.
Right.
So that's my take on it.
Right.
Of course. And, Killian, I want to hear your point because, we've had professional athlete, we've had another coach. Now, I get my fellow veteran over here because we got to travel and we got to be over there and some of us got to see those soccer matches over there. And you really get to see how electric those crowds are. With your experience when you were in the Navy and you got to travel overseas and do different things, how do you think a soccer crowd would really attach itself to an NFL crowd, in your opinion?
I mean, so we got so many soldiers and sailors and just Marines and everything overseas that plays a big part as far as the entertainment value for the Shield, like Terance was saying. But I feel like I'm kind of on the fence because I feel for the fans that are at home that could have easily been a home game and that money to attend and you took this game way across the pond and I've been rooting for this team my whole life. My granddad has been rooting for this team his whole life. And they don't really know about football. Y'all trying to coerce them into football. This is my DNA. So both sides. I feel for the Shield because the Shield all about making money and expanding the brand, and I also feel for the fans at home that really like want to see their team. Man, that's just an extra home game or whatever that they've taken away from them.
Kind of like how the SEC, takes games away from University of Georgia, especially that Georgia-Florida game. You could easily bounce that back and forth, but it's tradition and it's all about money. But
like
next topic we got coming up is the front office changes. We definitely want to hear what Coach Mathis has to say about this. You have Ryan Pace, that is going to be the new director of personnel, and then you have Kyle Smith that was promoted to assistant GM. Everyone knows Ryan Pace for passing up on Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes, and you take Mitch Trubisky. Now you bring this guy into Atlanta with the track record that you've had, offensively, and you literally look at Chicago. They had a defense set for a couple of years. They had a very good defense in Chicago. Offensively, when you look at the players that they were bringing in, Tariq Cohen couldn't do it by himself. You didn't really put a great offensive line there to protect him. The quarterback, Mitchell Trubisky, never really got to develop. And then you don't really try to go after great pass catchers. Now I want to hear your opinion on this, because we already know the McCaskies in Chicago don't like to pay anybody. That goes back to when Mike Ditka made the comment back in his playing days. He said George Halas throws around nickels like manhole covers. How do you feel when we bring a guy like that comes from an organization like Chicago into the Falcon household? And do you think he's going to have any kind of great impact when it comes to, he's the new director of player personnel?
Man. Oh, all right. I told you asked a question, I'm going to answer it. And I'm going to be honest. I'm always going to be honest. If you've seen me do shows and you've seen my show, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be straightforward with you.
Give it to us straight, Coach.
Go. When I started to feel a little warm and fuzzy about this organization, they always do something to make me scratch my head. And here's the thing. I know Fontenot and Pace have worked together before, and there's a camaraderie and a comfortability between the two. And I get that. I get that. They work together, I think, at the Saints together. But here it is, what amazes me, for me as a player, if I had 2-3 bad years, I'm not going to be wide receiver 1 anymore, and I'm not going to get paid anymore. Right?
Right.
Now, when you're not successful at your job and you get fired from that job, and it's a high profile job where you put your organization and your franchise back maybe 3-4 years. And all of a sudden he's part of your family now. I get it. Give a guy a second chance whatsoever. I get that. But let me tell you something. In this game, there's too much nepotism, and everybody think nepotism is just family. No, nepotism is just is family and friends also. So it's too much nepotism in this business where I'm gonna take care of you. I'm gonna scratch your back. You're gonna scratch mine, because this is how it flows. Pace and Fontenot work together. Pace get fired. Since you work together with me, you're my friend, I'm going to hire you with me. I don't care what people think. We're going to hide you for a year or so where you're not being seen. But then when jobs come open, bam, we're going to give you one of the high-profile jobs in the organization. I'm frustrated because of this is why I'm frustrated. And I don't want to make this about me, but this is why I'm frustrated. Since the Mitroff got hired, I've been trying to get in this organization every single year. And then I'll, hey, I do what you ask me to do. I do all these things, and I brush up on what I need to know to collect the bargaining agreement. I do all these things. I do my own homework and scouting and all this stuff, what I think we should do in free agency. Y'all have seen me speak about this and all that things, the draft and my thoughts on that. I can't even get an intern job.
We've spoke on this show when I've talked about that nepotism, Coach.
Yeah, and here we are. Here's the thing, and fans, you know what? I have a right to say what I have to say because you say what you want to say on social media all the time. And you believe that what you say is correct. I may not be correct, but this is my opinion, and my opinion matters to me. It don't matter to me if it doesn't matter to you, but here we go. Here's an organization that sits in the heart of Atlanta, Black Hollywood, Black excellence whatsoever. We have people that's part of this organization is on the diversity committee of the NFL, and we're seeing no traction. Oh, you say, oh, you got a GM you got a Black GM. Oh, our Black GM not hiring Black guys. Our Black, where's the Black offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator? Where are they? Where's the quarterback coach that is African American that can advance, or that linebacker coach that is the assistant DC that can advance? Where's that in this organization? You know, and I'm gonna get bashed for this, but guess what? This is one of the things that I would say to their face too. So I'm not saying anything behind their backs. That's why I'm treated a little differently than others, because I speak my mind. The one thing they don't want from you is a former player that can speak his mind, that knows much about the ins and outs of the front office, because now they feel that you're a troublemaker and you're a threat to what they're trying to do. So they're not gonna really listen to you or bring you in. But right now I'm at a point where I don't care anymore, because guess what? The Falcons don't give a rat ass about me right now, because they've shown it ever since I retired. So, but I will continue. I'm at a point now, it's about the players. I'm more concerned about the players, their health, their finances, their well-being, all these things. I'm more concerned about them. I want to see them succeed at what they do. And it's just bad that the coaching and the organization gets all the credit for what the product is doing. But at the same time, and I can go on and on about this. And Kyle Smith, I don't know who he is.
He got promoted to assistant GM coach.
That's the first time I heard his name. I don't know nothing about him. But at the end of the day, guess what, guys? Guess what, guys? We can talk about this until we sweat and blood. It don't matter, because guess what? Arthur Blank and Rich McKay can do whatever they want to do, because that's their football team. And we can be upset, we can be disappointed, we can be happy and glad. But at the end of the day, if they feel that's correct for their organization, I can say my opinion. I can disagree whatsoever. But at the end of the day, I just hope it works out for everybody.
Well, Coach, I'm gonna back you on this, because I've gotten bashed because I've stated my opinion, because of the fact that, first off, I feel like we don't go to enough HBCUs and recruit talent, for number one. Let's get this straight. I've been saying this. I championed for HBCUs. I was supposed to play for Southern. I joined the military instead, but I still love Southern University down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, who's produced two Hall of Famers. You have Mel Blount, Aeneas Williams, who you played against. He was one of my favorite cornerbacks to ever play. And then you look at the coaching that have come through there. You had the legendary Bill Hayes, who was at Winston-Salem State. You've had Eddie Robinson, the great Eddie Robinson, God rest his soul, that could have coached at that level. And I give you another one. You had a chance to bring in an Eric Bieniemy, hell, even a Mike Singletary, and I've been saying this. But you're going to take a guy who played at North Carolina, who was a mid-tier offensive lineman in college. I'm sorry to say it. I'm just going to call it for what it is. And then he interned. This is what makes it even worse. You interned under one of the greatest offensive minds of all time, with Coach Joe Gibbs, who literally won. We say he won a Super Bowl with 4 quarterbacks because Schrader and Doug Williams, Mr. Doug Williams, I'm putting respect on his name, helped him win that second Super Bowl. Let's be real. You look at the fact that we haven't had a black head coach in Atlanta. Art Shell, the legendary Art Shell, who was your offensive line coach and was an intern at that time, was literally
Super Bowl. Took us to the Super Bowl.
And helped take us to the Super Bowl. Let me make sure I put that right. a man that came out of Eastern Shore, Maryland College, and was one of the first. He was the first black coach in the modern era. Before him, it was Mr. Fritz Pollard. Now, let's be real. We have yet to see a change in that front office. And you can go back to even those penny pinching rankings. And I still say it to this day. When you start trying to invest into somebody who wants to win, it doesn't matter about color. It doesn't matter about this. Get somebody in here who wants to win. Get somebody in here who's not going to BS around about your draft picks. Let's be real. When you look at, no disrespect to any of these guys that have come in as first round draft picks because they worked their ass off to get there. But I'm gonna be real. You got a chance to draft a franchise quarterback in a Justin Fields, and you take a damn tight end. You don't have to say it, Mr. Mathis. We gonna say it. He's a talented kid, but unicorn, he is not. Unicorn, he is not. You got Antonio Gates, you have Tony Gonzalez, you have so many people that came into the league that did the little things. Until he does the little things, he's not. So my thing is, you pass on all this and make questionable decisions. So we're going to continue to struggle in certain ways until we get somebody in here who understands football from a high level, who understands the game, not just players that can put asses in seats. No, you need to have a team that can win, because winning cures all. And I ain't gonna go into a tirade because we'll get onto that.
Here's I'm gonna piggyback off of that a little bit. And you talking about HBCUs, you know me, I'm a GM, vice president of the team, owner of a team whatsoever. You know, I'm inviting someone from Clark and Morehouse to camp. I'm gonna invite you to camp to be part of, you know, hey, maybe, you know, look, we're gonna sign you as a undrafted free agent whatsoever, bring you into camp and see if you can make the squad. You're right here at home. What a story. What a story. You're right across the street, around the corner. What a story for this community. This community would rally around this young man, and you met the prayers and the positive energy that comes from that may propel him to become a I'm not gonna say a superstar, but have longevity in the NFL. But we don't think that way. We don't think that way. We just, you know, I get, you know, I look, man, here's the thing. Yeah. Quick thing here. And you talking about, I know when you was talking about the tier offensive lineman, I know who you're talking about. Here's the thing. I used to be hard on Arthur Smith, really hard on him. And I met him a few months ago. Yeah. And, you know, he introduced himself to me, you know, hey, I was a big fan, you know, blah, blah, blah. Would love for you to come around more, this and that, that and this. So I was like, hey, you guys did a great free agency whatsoever, this and that. And he said to me that something that I've always said. He said to me, I need to get guys in here that can show these younger guys how to be professionals. He says, I need every room to be competitive, and we got to compete. He says, I can't be the only one competing and yelling and trying to get these guys going. So I need to bring guys in here that can get these younger guys to understand how to be professionals. And I was like, wow.
He said, I'm your guy.
Right then and there, I had a different respect for him. And this is what I said to him. And like I told you this, I said, Coach, I've been really hard on you and skeptical about you up into this free agency. He says, and this is what I told him. I said, I'm rooting for you from here on out. And that's exactly what I said to him. So if you think when I say things on a platform like this that I won't say it to their face, you're wrong. You're wrong. I would say it to their face. And because what are they going to do? Call security to escort me out the room? Well, how would that look? You know, what are they going to do? Here's the thing. I'm a grown man. You're a grown man. If I can express my opinions to you, I'm less of a man. Yeah. So that means you're bigger than me and you treat me inferior. I'm not that guy. I'm sorry. I'm just not that guy. I'm Terance. I was Terance yesterday. I'm gonna be Terance today. I'm gonna be Terance tomorrow. That's who I am. I'm not compromising for anybody, because this is who God made me to be, and that's who I'm gonna be every day, 365 days of the year.
I like that.
And coach, and it gets better because you mentioned, and we're gonna get to your story. But when you say HBCU, and for me, it's a passion for me because the NFL wouldn't exist without HBCU players, and before those PWIs started stealing players like yourself. There was one football player that played exactly like you. My nickname is the historian for a reason because I love classic football and everything. Morris Brown's own Alfred Jenkins. For those who don't know, y'all don't know what school he came out of. He came out of Morris Brown. He's out of Hogansville, Georgia.
Yeah.
One of the greatest receivers in Atlanta history, and he was not a big man. Right. He was tiny.
Yeah,
and he had such an impact on the field. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And a lot of people forget our Hall of Fame defensive man. I'm gonna say this, and no disrespect to Deion Sanders, but he wasn't a Falcon long enough for me. I love Prime, Coach Prime, but he wasn't a Falcon long enough for me. I'm sorry, I'm gonna keep it real with you.
What do you think about that, Terance?
No, wait a minute, because I was getting ready to get to it. Claude Humphrey.
Go ahead and finish, man.
Claude Humphrey came out of Tennessee State, our best pass rusher outside of John Abraham. I mean, we pass up on so many diamonds. And you don't, because think about it. A lot of people forget Jesse Tucker wasn't drafted, undrafted free agent out of Valdosta State. And I get upset when people talk about all these guys. Oh, well, he's coming from here. It doesn't matter. If the guy can play, you need to bring some people in who can play football. I don't want to get enamored with the name across the chest because, I mean, we've seen some flops, but I'm not going to name folks because I don't want to disrespect them because they got to a level that a lot of us didn't get to.
Right.
But you can speak on it because you played there. But I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
No, I'm just, my thing is about this. It's a different NFL today. And I'm not saying it's less or better. It's just different. You can compare decades all day long whatsoever, but today's game is just different. It's just the money is more. The product has to be on the field. You got to take care of them. So you can't practice like you used to practice, 2-a-day practices and pads and all these things because you're paying these guys a whole lot of money and they got to be on the field playing and producing. And I get that. And you throw the ball more whatsoever and no huddle and all these things, fast-paced offense. I get those things. And I respect the game. I still respect the game. I'm never going to disrespect the game and say, oh, they throw the ball and if this. But here's one thing I do want to say about the game is this, when we talk about, you talked about Claude Humphreys and Alfred Jenkins and all these guys. Here's the thing that I say, and we talk about the GOATs and Tom Brady and Jerry Rice and Jim Brown and Barry Sanders and Deion Sanders, with all these things. And I always say this, when you want to compare a guy and say he's the greatest of all time, could he have played in every decade of the NFL? 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000. Could he have played in every decade? Now you got to look at it. Then you got to really look and research the decades and who played in the decades and watch some film and how the game was being played in every decade. And then you got to say, well, we say this guy is the greatest of all time. What time? The time he's played in or of all times? Could Jim Brown play in every era? Yes, he could have. Yes, he could have.
Yeah.
Could Jerry Rice played in every era? Yes, he could have. Could Tom Brady play in every era?
No, I say you don't have to say it. No, because he don't get hit.
Yeah, that doesn't mean he's not one of the greatest players.
Yeah,
but that don't mean he's the greatest of all time.
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? Because
bias, recent biases. Yeah,
yeah. So when we want to compare, when we want to say this guy is the best at his position at all times, be careful when you say that, because now you got to look at the eras. Could he have played in every era of the NFL? If you say yeah, not only play, but be productive, be a dude in every era. And if you can say, if you can honestly think about it and say yes, I say, okay, well, he's that dude. He's one of the greatest of all time.
Okay.
Right.
That's how you got to do it. That's exactly how you got to do it. And I surely believe that's the criteria you should go by when you picking Pro Football Hall of Famers. That got to be one of the criterias. It can't be he was from 2002 to 2010 he was this. Okay, all right. There was a lot of guys in those time periods that was good and was great, but what if we took him out of that and put him in a different situation, on a different team, in a different offense or a different defense? Could he still excel and be that dude? If you say yes, let's vote him in. If you have to question it, you got to find that guy that can, and you got to vote him in. Plain and simple.
Agreed.
I like that.
So we're gonna go ahead and get to your story now, Mr. Mathis. Okay. We definitely enjoyed chopping it up about the Falcons a little bit. And we definitely appreciate your realist perspective, because we have some, and here's the thing. It's okay to have different opinions, but Coach Mathis has literally said everything that half of us on this panel has said day in and day out that we've been on here. You literally have said exactly word for word what we've said.
Hey man, I've been attacked before on social media, once. And you know what I did? I just put crying faces, because it's funny to me, because I'm like, I'm not going to debate with you. I'm not going to argue with you. So why come at me? Because you're just wasting your time, because I'm not going to give you bites and likes because me and you are going in a debate. You can't look. I'm gonna stay that big fish, and I ain't gonna go for the bait. I'm gonna just swim along and enjoy my life, without any stress and any problems. That's who I am. I ain't gonna take the bait. So stop casting it. Stop casting that out there. I ain't gonna get it. That hook.
You're right.
What it is.
And
here we go. Let's move on.
we gonna go ahead and move on. We're gonna go ahead and move on with that one. So you're from Detroit, Michigan, from what most people don't know, and you spent a lot of your childhood there to about 11, and you moved to Atlanta. Let's get to Atlanta, Georgia, when you moved from Detroit to Atlanta. What was the difference in between being in the Motor City and you coming down to Atlanta, Georgia, Southern hospitality? What was the change in that climate like for you growing up, and what did you expect when you got to high school and you got a little older?
Well, first of all, let me go back and apologize. I do know how to spell West Side, because I grew up on the west side of Detroit. So I'm gonna apologize to you. Right in there. Okay, I apologize. I can spell West Side because I grew up on West Side Detroit.
And we got somebody from the East Side to actually say something good about the West Side.
Big up to the Northwest Detroit Cougars Little League team. That's where I started my football. But here it was, in Detroit, you grew up in the city, and you see all these things, and you witness all these things, and the violence and the crimes and all these things, and you hear the gunshots. And I remember one morning I heard gunshots early in the morning, looked out the window, didn't see anything, but then we came out and was walking to school, and right in front of on our sidewalk there was a pool of blood. Somebody got shot right there in front of our house. And we didn't think nothing of it. Was like, wow. And we went on to school. Friends of yours, you hear that gets killed or gets shot whatsoever. It was like, wow. And it was like, so then when I leave Detroit, that was one of the reasons my mom moved me out of Detroit, is because of that fact. She wanted me to live a long life, and she wanted me to be successful. And we moved to the Decatur area. I started at Southwest DeKalb High School. So I was at Southwest DeKalb High School first. So we lived in that area. And then after my 9th grade year, we moved to Stone Mountain and went to Redan. Now, culture shock.
Yeah, Redan.
Culture shock.
Occasion back.
This was in the early 80s. Now, this was in the early 80s when white supremacy and the KKK was still relevant in the Stone Mountain area. So I remember going to register for school at Redan High School, and a pickup truck rolled by, and guys said, "Go home with the N-word." And that was the first time I've ever been called that by a white person before. And I started running towards the truck and was yelling, "Come back here and say it in my face." My mom grabbed me. She was yanking on me. I was like, "No, come here, coward. Come back and say that." Then she said, "What's your name, boy?" I said, "Terance." She says, "Well, he wasn't talking to you." I said, "Oh." So that was my first experience of being called that. And I remember one time in a hallway, a guy was running, bumped into me, and he dropped his stuff and he told me, "Excuse you." And, you know, it was a culture shock. But right then, during that time, I had to be strong. I had to my mom kept telling me, "Hey, this is who you are. This is what you have to be. This is this and that." But then what happens is when football starts and basketball and track and everything else, now they get to know who you are. And now, you know, things, I mean, the athletes, because we teach family in the sports, you come together and you learn to like each other, but there's be some other people that don't, you know, be parents that may not like you because of the color of your skin. But, you know, at the end of the day, you know, I thank God and I thank my mom for moving me in that district, because it was preparing me for my life. It was preparing me for my life. And DeKalb County at that time, man, it was like DeKalb County was Gwinnett County now.
Yeah.
It was, dude, who's who. Every year goes to college, who's getting drafted. It was a who's who. If you played football in DeKalb County, your chances of going to college was great. And when you go to DeKalb County and go down to Atlanta City schools to play, boy, they wanted to beat you so bad. Oh my God! But we always come home with a dub, and a big dub. It never lost to Atlanta schools. I'm telling you. So we never lost. Hey, Scoop, we never lost on the West Side when we went to the West Side.
I feel you, Coach. I feel you. Hey, look, hey, tell the truth. That's all I say. Just tell the truth.
Washington, Douglas, Thero,
whoever wanted.
Nothing. Nada.
Well, I was gonna say, well, you got the track record to prove it, so we can't even debate you on that. But you know, it is what it is. I'm not a hater, it's what it is. You know, my parents moved me, you know, we moved from the city and they moved me down to Jacksonville, Florida. So you already know about the Banghamville down there when it comes to high school football. You got to meet Mr. Brian Dawkins front and center. I was actually supposed to go to his old high school, but that's another story for another day. But honestly though, with you growing up during that time, now we got to that part, and I'm gonna let my man Killian get on it because he wanted to know about your recruitment process, because you're well traveled. And he wanted to know about your recruitment process. So, Kill, what you got for him?
Yeah, in that recruiting process, like how was going through that? You know, our listeners and subscribers would like to hear, like, you know, what was the challenges coming from Decatur, going out into, you know, the open world. I know you had that big challenge when you moved from Detroit down to Atlanta. So was this another culture shock for you, or it was an easier transition for you?
Well, here's the thing. I wish I knew where all those boxes of letters were that I was getting from colleges all over the place. I remember the first one I received from the University of Hawaii. I was like, they got a football team in Hawaii? I was like, what? And so I was getting all these letters whatsoever, this and that. But here's the thing. My recruiting process was wasn't exciting or anything else. I played played quarterback in high school. So of course they wouldn't recruit me as a quarterback. You know, Georgia wanted me as a DB and other schools wanted me as a DB whatsoever. And I remember I got called out of class and was going to the coach's office, and the guy was like, "Hey, there's a recruiter in there. He wants to see you." I was like, "Okay." So the recruiter came out to the hall, you know, out of the coach's office and started talking to me. He's like, "Hey, man," he says to me, he says, "Hey, man, you look great on film, blah, 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 you know, this and that, outstanding senior season." And he looked at me and said, "You're way too small, though, to play at the University of Tennessee." And I almost said some things to him that my mom said to me when I was 9 years old when I started playing. That's a different story, but I didn't. And I just looked at him and I said, "Oh, okay. Okay." So the next person that came in was Georgia Southern, Coach Ben Griffith. He wanted Tracy Ham was the quarterback at the time. He was going to be a senior. They needed somebody to replace Tracy Ham. So I was going to Georgia Southern. And then all of a sudden it just got dark. And I was like, what's going on? So then he calls me and he's at the University of New Mexico. He says, "Hey, look, I still want you to come play for me, but do you know anything about New Mexico?" I had no clue what New Mexico was. So once I looked it up, it was a Division I school. He offered me a scholarship. My mom said, "Boy, you better take it because we ain't got no money to pay for school." And I said, "Yes, ma'am, but it's a long ways." She says, "I don't care. Go." And you talking about culture shock. Oh, again, coming from Detroit to Stone Mountain to Albuquerque, New Mexico. And it was a culture shock. But the difference this time was, remember now, I was put in a culture that I wasn't used to, so I had to adapt to it. So now I had to adapt again to a different culture with Hispanics and Indians and few blacks whatsoever. So I had to adapt to that situation. Was it tough? Yeah, it was tough because I was missing home. It wasn't like my mom could get in the car and drive 8 to 10 hours to come see me, or afford a plane ticket. So I was out there I had to make the best of it. I was calling my mom collect every day.
You was missing it
every day till she said, "Boy, you better stop calling me collect." I said, "Don't you call me collect anymore." I was like, "Okay, Mom." Then she said, "You need to grow up." And I stopped calling her collect after that. So, you know, and it was a great experience. Let me tell you, here's the thing. I wanted to play at the University of Michigan because I grew up in Detroit. Family went to Michigan, had an uncle played at Michigan. And I just wanted to do it for my grandfather because we used to watch during Thanksgiving time, Ohio State and Michigan. We used to sit there and watch those games all the time. Anthony Carter, I thought I was Anthony Carter all day. That was my dude. And I wanted to go to Michigan for him because I wanted him to see me play at Michigan. And it didn't happen. But here's what I say to recruiters, or to young guys that's getting recruited, is this: go where you want it. Don't go where you want to be. Go where you want it, because at the end of the day, they're going to find a place and find a way to play you. I went to the University of New Mexico as a quarterback, and in the third week of practice, the offensive coordinator comes to me and says, "Hey, the head coach said we're scrimmaging," and head coach says, "I need to put you in." He says, "I can't put you in front of the other upperclassmen quarterbacks. So look, I'm gonna put you in the slot whatsoever." And he said, "Do you know it?" I said, "Yeah, coach, I know it because I played quarterback." So I get in the huddle, I'm in the slot, call a reverse. I get the reverse, go 60 yards, untouched, touchdown. First time I touched the ball in scrimmage. And everybody going, "Woo, woo." So then they put me in that quarterback. I throw a ball, throw a touchdown, run for a touchdown, and then back at receiver again, and I catch a touchdown. So first scrimmage, I scored 4 touchdowns. So I'm like going, whoa, now wait a minute, let me go back now. I'm 5'9", 145 pounds. And I'm going, oh, wow, I can do this. So I started the second game of the year. and I caught 4 balls for 161 yards and 2 touchdowns. And I went, oh my goodness, I can do this. I have never played receiver in my life. I played some tailback and I played quarterback, but I've never played receiver in my life. And the ironic thing about that, the first 2 years of my college career, I never went to a wide receiver meeting. I was always in a quarterback meeting. And that's why I learned how to play football and be dynamic in the things that I was able to do, because I knew the defense, I knew where everybody's supposed to be, I knew how to scout players, I knew what their weaknesses, their strengths were, because I was a quarterback. I know what the front is. I know when the linebackers was in certain positions, there was only 1 or 2 coverages that they could play. So that helped me at wide receiver. You know, I'm looking, I said, oh, that's cover 2 all day. They can disguise it all they want with the secondary, but the linebackers is telling you what's going on. And people say, why you don't look at the secondary? Because that front 7 tells you exactly what's about to happen behind it. So I knew that. So that's why I had the opportunity to play a long time, 13 years in the league and whatsoever, because I was a student of the game. You know, I was a student of the game. But going back to what I was saying is, go where you want it, not where you want to be. Because at the end of the day, it's about being on the field and being productive. It's about playing on Friday nights to playing on Saturday and Saturday nights. Not sitting there just dressed and coming out the tunnels and say, hey, I'm on the University of Alabama and never get to play.
Yeah.
Who wants to do that?
Charles Barkley stated what you stated, Mr. Mathis, when he made the comment. He always says that, just like you. He said, I went to Auburn because they were going to play me as a freshman. They told me they were going to play me, and they gave me a chance. Now, I'm not supporting Auburn in no kind of way. I'm just using it as an example. Because he did that for Bo Jackson said the same thing. He said, I'm not going to sit on the bench at Alabama. That's why he went to Auburn.
Exactly. And I mean, I could have became a preferred walk-on at the University of Georgia because it's an SEC school whatsoever, blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to the University of New Mexico and be their all-time leading receiver in catches, yards, and touchdowns, and get inducted to the College Football Hall of Fame 2023. That's what happened, going somewhere where they wanted me.
Okay. I like it.
I've been blessed.
I was gonna wait to get to that, but you just pulled. See, wait a minute, hold up. Listen. Hold up. I got to do it one time. I love Coach Mathis, but hold up. We got to lead you to that. You can't just jump out the bucket like that. We love you.
Let me tell you, I am a storyteller, boy.
Receipts.
What I do. I speak. I can jump from place to place, and
I love it.
Pull it all up together.
But we were getting ready to give you your credit because Killian jumped on the college side. For those who don't know about Coach Mathis had more than 250 receptions in his college career, and he had 4,000 receiving yards and 6,000 yards in total. That is unheard of for a lot of kids to do that. And you did it 4 years. Yeah. So you're one of the best college receivers that was the most underrated that they don't talk about. You were a weapon, as we would say, as Arthur Smith likes to have, as we would say, a Swiss Army knife. You were a Swiss Army knife way before it became popular.
Man, I was playing running back in college. I played quarterback in college. I played in the slot. I played out wide. I played with my hand on the ground. I was doing some of everything, finding a way to get me open. And that's what I said, man. That's why I thank the University of New Mexico. If I wasn't able to do all those things, I couldn't have played 13 years in the league. You know, I was productive. And nobody knew how productive I could be because I went to the University of New Mexico. You know, I didn't go to Notre Dame. I didn't go to Alabama. I didn't go to Clemson. I didn't go to Georgia. I went to the University of New Mexico. I'm going to tell you this. In the 4 years that I played at the University of New Mexico, I won only a total of 9 games. Total of 9 games. But that doesn't mean I could play football. That just means we weren't very good. Well, you know, we were competitive. I'm gonna tell you now, and we get together sometime. The guys from college, we get together and we look at this Lobo football team now, and when they play these big games whatsoever, they're getting blown out. we never got blown out by Florida or Arkansas or Tennessee or Nebraska or anybody. We never got blown out like that. Matter of fact, the games we lost, the reason we lost is because they were bigger, stronger, faster, and had more depth than us in the fourth quarter. But we balled, dude. We balled. These guys today, they buy into the fact that, oh, we're going to play a Power 5. We're going to go get that $1 million and come home. Yeah. I want to beat you and take your money too. That's what I want.
Because I want to beat you and take that $1 million.
Yeah.
So Scoop, what you got for Coach? We talked about the college process. I know you're like me, but you're a little bit more in depth with the drafting process.
Ooh.
So of course, like coming from New Mexico, of course you get drafted by the Jets. Mm-hmm. You got Coach Coslett and that West Coast system. Mm-hmm. But really, what I want to get to is the brand that I have on my chest right now.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. You get to Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
You come back home,
mm-hmm.
and you got this run and shoot offense.
Mm-hmm.
For a receiver, that's a dream come true.
Right.
You out there, you with Andre Rison.
Mm-hmm.
How does it feel when you go from June Jones run and shoot to now here come Dan Reeves coming through the door with Smash Mouth football?
I went to college and we ran a run and shoot offense in college. So, and then my first 2 years, my freshman and sophomore year, we ran a run and shoot. My junior and senior year, we ran the West Coast offense. So when I went to New York, I knew the offense. So they were like, wow, he's adapting well. And so I stayed around. We had first round draft pick that year was Reggie Rembert. And he got cut because I went to mini camp and showed out and they cut him. And then after my 4 years with the Jets, I come home to Atlanta in a run and shoot offense that I already knew. So my transition was good. When Dan Reeves came in with the tight end and the two backs and the two receivers, and like you said, running back gonna carry the ball at least 350 to 400 times in a season, that type of offense. It was an adjustment because I knew, here's the thing, I knew that stories, I'm going to tell you guys stories that haven't been told before. When he came in, I knew that he was trying to get rid of me because I wasn't the prototypical receiver that he wanted at that position. I was the Z receiver, so I had to block linebackers, ends, safeties, and all that stuff. So I said, okay, I had a guy that was that would be at the meetings and come down and tell me some of the things that was going on and said about me. So I got bigger, stronger, and faster. And every year he tried to replace me and he couldn't. Kept saying I wasn't big enough, I wasn't fast enough. So funny story. In 97, I got bigger, I got faster, I got stronger. I remember being timed at a 4.36, and I was 27, 28 at the time. And so I used to play. We was in the preseason, and I would talk to the receivers. I said, how y'all want me to play today? Y'all want to be physical Terance? You want to be speed Terance? Or you want to be quick Terance? Then they always say, I want to see you be physical. I want to see you be physical. I said, okay. I catch a slant and hunt up the safety and just run through his chest. Bam! And they go, ooh. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. And I know here's the thing is this. Me as a receiver and at my size, I had to have different types of bags. I had to find a way to play differently every week because I didn't want you to sit there and watch 3 games and say, oh, I know exactly what he's going to do and how he's going to play. I'm looking at the film and go, oh, against him, I'm going to this bag right here. Against him, oh, this bag will work perfectly for him. Oh, against them, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be this guy. And it always portrayed the way I dressed for each game, which bag I was in. That's the crazy thing, man. People don't understand. That's the if this is the truth, I'm gonna give you the truth. If we were wearing the black socks with the black jerseys, and you seen most of my black sock, that means that was physical Terance.
Okay.
And if you seen just a little bit of that color in that sock, that means that was world-class sprinter Terance.
Okay.
I had something for everything. It was, you know, when you get older, you got to find a way to stay motivated to play every year. I remember after I got married in '97, and it was the day before training camp, and we had just coming back from our honeymoon whatsoever, and I have my head in my wife's lap, and I looked up at her and says, "I don't want to do this no more." This was before the '98 season. I said, "I don't want to do this anymore." And I said, "I'm just tired." I was after year 10. I said, I'm tired. Training camp, the heat, I'm tired. She says, "Look, go to training camp. After training camp, if you feel the same way, then retire." Well, I had the best training camp of my life. As you know, we went to the Super Bowl in '98. And I said, wow. And then once you taste that first piece of peach cobbler, you want more of it. And I just said, I want to play forever. After going to the Super Bowl, I said, I want to play forever. I was like, wow. Yeah.
And Coach, and speaking of the Super Bowl, I got a question for you about it.
Okay.
One of our guys that's in the panel or whatnot, he's out with his father in the hospital. Shout out to our guy Meltdown. Prayers up to your father. He wanted me to ask you this question. His favorite, and it's off topic, but his favorite group is Kiss, and they opened up for the '98 Super Bowl. He wanted to know how electric was that performance getting into that. Now, I mean, everybody has their different tastes in music, but he really wanted to know, how did they set the stage for a lot of guys that might have been rock band lovers at the time? And you know, you had a whole bunch of cats that was up in 112 throwing bowls back in the day. You know, just what was that atmosphere in that environment like with the guys on the sideline?
We didn't even pay attention to Kiss. We were in the locker room when they performed.
Okay.
Man, if it was Prince performing Kiss, I would have been memorable. Yeah. But Kiss, I don't know nothing about Kiss. I don't know nothing about Kiss.
So now he answered your question for you or whatnot. They was locked in. But so when you went through one of the best seasons that you had in 1998, I think the greatest catch I ever saw you catch was in the NFC Championship game, and you caught it with one hand on the sideline and just brought it down so beautifully. That is one of my favorite catches of all time. And you also gave, you know, he's a coach at Florida State now. I talked to him on Instagram. I check out his motivation. You gave Corey Fuller the business that day as well. So honestly, Coach, I like when you talk about defensive backs that you've gone up against, and I'm a former DB, so you know I take it a little personal, but you play for my team, so I love you, you know. But who was the toughest defensive back that you had to go up against? You can talk about any time period of your career of who was the toughest that you had to go up against.
That's DeKalb County with New Mexico pro.
Yeah, NFL, it don't matter. Who was the toughest that you ever had to go up against?
There's two of them. James Hasty that I played with the Jets, played in Kansas City, played with the Raiders. James Hasty, if it wasn't for him, I would have never made the football team in New York. I remember after mini camp, because he jammed me up, I couldn't get off the line. So at the mini camp, I go home, I go back, then I come back for summer workout. So I'm in the weight room lifting. So he asked me, he says, where do they have you staying? I said, they got me staying at the hotel. He said, no, you're going to stay with me all summer. So he and I stayed at his house all summer. We trained together. We worked out together whatsoever. So then when we come back for training camp, the first time we go one-on-one, I get bump and run and beat him, caught it, touchdown, not against him. And I was like, wow. So then when the season started, James Hasty and I went up against each other every day in practice for 4 years on one-on-ones. And he's my dude. And we used to, sometimes we didn't even get to the route because we're fighting at the line of scrimmage, wrestling on the ground. And they breaking it up and said, I thought y'all was boys. And we laugh and we say, we are. I said, but he ain't gonna hold me. I'm gonna let him know how it feels to be held. So then the other 13 years that I've played and the 8 years that I've been a starter, only one guy has stopped me from catching a ball in a game, and that's been Charles Woodson.
Ooh.
And
you said Charles Woodson?
Yeah, I keep putting it out there. I keep putting it out there, Charles. If you ever see this, I'm ready to go, brother. Me and you in the parking lot.
You in the parking lot.
I don't care. I don't care who throwing the ball. I don't even if it's complete or incomplete. I just need to get open. Me and you. If we're in a restaurant somewhere, we're gonna push the tables back, bro. Well, dude, I gotta get it. Just so I can move on from it. I'm still feeling some kind of way about that. I am dead serious, dude. But the funny thing, he had 2 PIs in that game. But I was like, take the PI. I want the catches. Forget the PIs. So, but it was Charles Woodson, man. James Hasty and Charles Woodson, dude. I mean, 2 of the best that ever played the game.
And getting to it, Coach, you know, you talked about your journey. You went through the Jets. Rich Kotite and those guys were around that time when you were there. Keyshawn Johnson, Wayne Corbett, you know, young guys. And you came to Atlanta, you know, as a free agent. You came into Atlanta as a free agent. You were here with Lincoln Kennedy, Andre Rison, Jeff George, and those guys. Mm-hmm. And you saw the transition when Jam took over for Eric Metcalf. And you talk about Lincoln Kennedy ended up going out to the Raiders. Shout out to Mr. Kennedy, by the way. He's out in Arizona doing his thing. And then if you look at it, you look at everything that you've done with the Falcons. You came here. You literally set the standard when you passed Andre Rison and you passed Alfred Jenkins and the guys who came around. And, you know, you set a record in the NFL that still stands. You're number 2 with 2-point conversions in the NFL with 6. You're only 1 behind Marshall Faulk. And that record still stands, and no one has touched that record. Mm-hmm. And I look at the fact that you mentioned Dan Reeves coming in. And, you know, my godfather, Clarence K, played for him out in Denver. So they talked about with Smash Mouth, you know, Sammy Sewell, run the ball, they'll throw it here and there. And you look at it, you had Rennie Simmons, who was your wide receiver coach. And a lot of people don't know this about Mr. Simmons. Mr. Simmons played under Joe Gibbs, who was his offensive coordinator at San Diego State. Mm-hmm. And then he also played under the legendary Don Coryell. And people don't realize that passing game that you saw for the Redskins in the 80s, and it goes further. You go back to the San Diego Chargers when Joe Gibbs was the offensive coordinator with a unicorn tight end in Kellen Winslow Sr. And then you had him with the St. Louis Cardinals under Don Coryell when they had Jim Hart, and then you had Eric Metcalf's dad that was doing his thing there, and you had O.J. Anderson at the end of the day. And you look at a man who's developed and coached great receivers. You look at Charlie Joyner, Hall of Famer. You look at John Jefferson, who did his thing. You had Wes Chandler. And you look at those guys who he coached, and you had that wealth of knowledge right there. What did he do for you in your career as a wide receiver?
He let me be me. He let me be the creative guy that I needed to be successful. He never put me in the box. I was never what it was on the paper. I was never the diagram. It was, you know where you need to be, you know how to get there. Dan Reeves, on the other hand, hated the way I used to run routes because it wasn't traditional. It wasn't cookie cutter whatsoever. And but my quarterbacks loved it. So Rennie loved it. Sometimes he let me see. We'd be in the meetings. He let me take over the meeting room. And he says, Terance, explain this to the young guys. And I'm on the board and I'm explaining coverages and why we do what we need to do, why you need to be here, be there. So he let me be the man that I needed to be, but be the football player that I needed to be also. So I respect him for that. And it, you know, man, you dude, I'm telling you, man, it's just, I get chills thinking about those meetings and those practices and film sessions and the travel and game day and all those things. I remember the day Tony Martin came in and he hugged me. Like, we knew each other from passing, playing against each other, but he hugged me and just like, yeah, he was good, happy to see me. So he pushed me in the chest. He says, we're going to catch the same amount of balls. We're going to have the same amount of yards, and we're going to the Super Bowl. I was like, yeah. So and we were roommates doing training camp. So we competed against each other every day. And you say, well, how two guys compete against each other? We had this thing. We used to take the young guys and we watching film, and we used to say, who ran the route the best? Who ran the route the best? So we used to have a point system of who was the best route runner. So we competed against each other, which made games easy for us. And we almost had the same amount of catches. We almost had the same amount of yards. He averaged 17.6 a catch. I had 17.3 a catch that year. And I had more touchdowns. But dude, when we played together, it was phenomenal, dude. Oh my God, playing with him he was a dude, man. Everybody think because he was just fast and he was slippery and he was slick and all these things. That dude was mean, man. He was mean. Ooh, he would curse a DB out in a minute. We used to call him Nino Brown. Nino Brown and wide receivers, bro. He used to get in DB's face. Oh my God. And pretty much punk him. And I was like, this little dude, y'all letting him punk y'all? So, but that we called him Nino Brown. It was so my dude.
Killian had a question about you. Once you guys after the Super Bowl, Jam was still doing his thing because he was one of the best backs, but he really wanted to know what it was like playing. He wanted to know what it was like with Jam or whatnot. What you guys, Killian?
Well, I mean, also playing with Jam, but I also wanted to know that on top of that, playing against the Aints, you have your biggest games against the Aints, man. What was it when you went against them Aints? What made the best of Terance Mathis come out of you?
Oh boy, when you say that, I go play right now against the Saints. I don't care which. Right now, I can play against the Saints. Well, my first year here in Atlanta, we were getting ready to play the Saints. That week, everybody kept saying we got to stay in the whole game, the whole 4 quarters. It's going to come down to who have the ball last, blah, blah, blah. It's always a close game, no matter what the records are. It's a close game. It's a close game. And I'm like, okay, yeah. So we get to the game, and going into the 4th quarter, we're up like 17 points. And I said, who said it had to be this close? We end up winning on the last second field goal. And I'm going, oh my goodness. But it was something about the Saints because of the fact that it was a rivalry. And to me, you're supposed to show out against your rivals to let them know, hey, I don't care. You still the little brother. I'm going to still beat you. I'm going to still do my thing against you. You're going to be the little brother. As long as I'm playing, you're going to still be the little brother. And that's what it was about with me. But here's the funny thing that people don't know. K-Dub, we would go to the first time I went to New Orleans. My quarterback from college was coaching there, and he picked me up from the hotel. We went to go eat. About 2 o'clock in the morning, I wake up and I'm throwing up. I'm just throwing up. I call the trainer and the doctor. They come into the room, bringing me stuff to take whatsoever. So I get about maybe 2-3 hours of sleep that night. And I get to the stadium and I'm tired whatsoever. He asked me how I was feeling. I was still a little feeling funny. So we warming up and I like, I gotta go to the bathroom. So I go to the bathroom and the stomach was flushing and all that stuff. So I go out and have a big game. And so the trainer goes, wow, you need to get sick more often. This is a true story. The next year we go, and I'm warming up whatsoever, and I turn and I get a spasm in my back. in my upper back, and it was a big old knot in my back, and you can feel it. And I'm going, oh, and I go to the locker room. They shoot me up, loosen it up. I have a big game. This is a true story. Big game. 98, we go there, and I hurt my shoulder going into that game. And so it's like, you want to tape it up this week or what? I said, no, Doc, just shoot it up. And I said, just shoot it up. And he shot it up, and I felt good. I had 6 catches for 198 yards and 2 touchdowns in that game in 3 quarters. I did it in 3 quarters. And now the story is, when we go to New Orleans, the training user asked me, what's wrong with you today? What's wrong? So the last couple of times we went, I was fine, but I still had big days. But that was the biggest running thing. Everybody knew when we went to New Orleans, if I was feeling bad, it was going to be a big game. But
I wasn't playing with the Jam, though. I wanted to get that.
Jam, Jam, it was one of those things. Me and Jam had this great relationship, because if you watch old film, you will always see when Jam breaks runs, I'm always in the picture. Because my job was always getting the safety out of the hole. So I would come in motion, and I would have to put my helmet in ear holes, John Lynch ear hole, whoever it was that was in the way, and he'd come off my butt and score. So we had a thing. We had so much fun in 98. We had a bet that whoever had the most touchdowns. So here it was. It was $100 a touchdown. So, one game he had 3, and I had to pay him $300. I had 3. He had to pay me. But through the season, I won. I think he had 11 and I had 13. So I was up $200 at the end of the year. So we had fun like that, doing that, because here's the thing. I knew when I caught a ball and I took off, if I got tackled inside the 5, I ain't going to see the ball again. It's going 3 times, maybe 4 times the Jam. So when I caught a ball, I'm trying to get in the end zone and score. I'm trying everything possible, because I know. And he used to get mad at me. He said, you could have got tackled right there. I was like, no. So you can win the money? I was like, no. So that was the thing. We had a great thing going, man. That year, we had a special year that year, and a good relationship. It was fun playing with him, because he brought a lot of energy, man. And his just charisma and his fun-loving attitude, man, it was amazing. Then when you watch him stiff arm somebody or just run through somebody, it was just like, ooh, for a guy that's 245, 250 pounds running like that downhill, I'm gonna get out the way. And them fools used to stand in front of him and just take that punishment. Ooh, I don't know how they did it.
I don't know how they did it either.
Mm.
So when you were talking about teammates, I got to run it back away. That there was a teammate that you had in New York. It was a man by the name of Jamie Redmond, one of our guys that's in the he was playing for the Jets back in the day, around the same time you were there.
He wasn't there when I was there. I think he came in after me. Okay, because
one of my guys was trying to find out if you actually played with him, because he actually knows him personally. That's why he was asking.
He came in after me. I played with Mo Lewis from Georgia. I played with Shade Tree from Florida State. Y'all remember? I played with
his son's playing for Georgia right now.
Man, I played with some dudes, man.
I played with them dudes.
Look, Ronnie Lott, my last year in New York, Ronnie Lott comes to the Jets. True story. We in practice. I'm running a deep dig route, and I know he's sitting back there. Scoop, I know he's sitting back there. But I know I'm open, and I know the ball is coming. And I'm going, I got to make a business decision right here, and it better be correct. So the ball was thrown. K-Dub, the ball was thrown. I promise you, the ball was thrown right here in my chest. I jumped so high and caught the ball like at my knees and curled up and fell to the ground. My feet didn't even touch the ground. My body hit the ground first. So Ronnie runs up to me and said, T, what the hell you doing? I said, dude, you wasn't about to decapitate me. He says, bro, we in practice. I said, but you Ronnie Lott. That's all was going through my head. I said, but you Ronnie Lott. And
you have visuals of that joke.
Visions. I've seen it before. I've seen even Ronnie Lott that year, my 4th year in the NFL, I became a professional because of Ronnie Lott. Ronnie Lott, when we used to travel, Ronnie Lott used to call me before I even get in my room, phone ringing. Come on, man, let's go to dinner. He would take me to dinner on the road everywhere we went. And I became a professional with Ronnie Lott. He told me something one night. We was playing the Cowboys. We had a chance to win that game. If, we get the ball, we have a chance to win the game. So they punt the ball. It was wet, misty rain, wind was blowing, and I got up under it and I muffed it with less than 2 minutes to go, and they recovered it. So 3 downs later, it's over. I go to the locker room and I'm distraught. I go to the vacant part of the locker room where can't nobody find me. So I hear Ronnie's calling me, T-Matt, where's T-Matt? Everybody, where's T? So he's calling my name. So he finally finds me, and I'm sitting on the floor in this old shower room with all my equipment on. He grabs me by my chest, pulls me up, presses me against the wall, looks me in the face. He said, I won't ever want to see you like this again. He said, you didn't lose this game for us. He said, it takes all of us. We win together, we lose together. He said, I don't ever want to see you like this again. Do you understand what I'm saying? I said, yes. He said, I don't ever want to see you like this again. From that day forth, I don't care what the situation was, how desperate it was, I wanted the ball to get the first down or win the football game. And if it didn't happen, and if I dropped one whatsoever, it didn't matter. It just didn't matter. And from that day forth, I became a professional. And if that would have never happened, I don't know where my career would have been. I probably would have been just a guy that was on the roster. But that propelled me to be the professional that I needed to be.
Yeah, man. Those moments.
Yep.
So just to get to it, because I know we've had it for a minute, but got to touch on this part. Once you were retired from the league, I know everybody's loving the Falcon stories, but I also want to touch on other ventures that you did outside of the NFL as well. You coached at Savannah State at one point. You were an offensive coordinator at HBCU. That was the most important thing, one of the most important things. And you've also had an organization, the Terance Mathis Foundation, that originally was called Terance Loves Children back in the day. And you changed the name of it to the Terance Mathis Foundation.
Right.
What do you get out of being able to help young men and young women in the community to not just oh, I'm a big football player, I did this? No, you've instilled hope into communities, and you've helped people achieve dreams and get to a place where they can be productive citizens. What inspired you to really do that?
My mom. We didn't have much growing up. My father died when I was 6 months old. My mom got remarried when I was 11, which we moved to Georgia. A year and a half, 2 years later, he was gone. He left her. She was left to raise 4 children by herself. I have an older sister too. So I've seen her work and do the things necessary for us to have the things that we needed to be successful. We never thought we were poor. We just thought we didn't have what everybody else had. And then you realize at a certain age that, hey, you're pretty much poor. But my mom would never let us say that come out of our mouth, because she says, if you say that, that's who you are. She says, that's who you're going to be. And then she says, when you make it, don't forget where you came from. I said, and you hear people say that all the time, but it is so true because of the fact that I know how hard it is for a single mom or a single parent. I know how hard it is to try to feed 4 kids, dress 4 kids, raise 4 kids. I know how hard it is. So for me, if I can help a little bit to get you started, to get you feeling good about yourself whatsoever, it's one thing. Everything that I do, I don't do for man. I do to please God. And wherever he tells me to go, my orders are my steps are ordered by God. Wherever he tells me to go and whatever he tells me to do, I do. I don't do everything. Some days he just says, hey, this is what I need you to do. And I do it. And I just have for the inner city, For those who are in need, I just have a soft spot in my soul and my spirit for those. Even, you go places. I ride sometimes when I go to different cities, and even in my own city of Atlanta, when I ride through it whatsoever, I always like to take the street places instead of the highway, just to see what's going on and around. Because you do that sometimes, because you miss a lot if you go highway. Go on the streets and see how people live, and see what neighborhoods look like, and see what people are doing and whatsoever. And I remember I was in one city and I'm riding, and tears came to my eyes, because sometimes we are so far removed. We think we are so far removed from those that are struggling, but we're only 2 or 3 paychecks away from being where they are. So it hurts my heart to see the way people live sometimes, where I feel that we spend so much money on other things, wars and all these other stuff, and we want to shut down the government because of this and this and that, where we can put money back into our communities and teach them how to continue to raise their communities and make it successful, as easy as we send money and weaponry across the world. It's that simple. We can do that. People say, no, it's you just so well, yeah. It could be done. Will it take some time? Yes, it takes time. Just like those war-torn countries that we send money to, it takes them 20, 30, 40, 50 years to rebuild. We can do the same thing in our inner cities. I'm just saying. We already got the infrastructure. We just need somebody to come in and help build on that structure, where we can put the roof on it. We got the infrastructure, help build the pillars, and then we'll build the roof and cover it all up to make it safe and make it good. But we need your help to do that. So my thing is, man, I just do what God asked me to do, man. And the thing is, I'm sitting here and trying not to get emotional about this stuff, because it's dear to my heart, and I'm fulfilling a dream my mom wanted. My mom passed away almost 4 years ago. It'll be 4 years in July 10th. And I'm just fulfilling the dreams that she wanted me to do. And I remember when I was little, I need you to do this. I need you to do that. I need you to do this. I need you to do that. Take care of your sisters. Took care of my sisters. Take care of your family. Take care of your family. Take care of your neighborhood. Take care of those in need. Do that. And go back to school and get your degree. Did that. So, man, dude, and I'm gonna get back. We get so in tuned and involved, and I look at social media and people say, "Well, because I want to hear what people are saying and what people are doing," especially when it comes to like sports. When it comes to our Falcons, how can you be such rabid fans of an organization that ain't paid your rent, ain't paid your car note, ain't paid your doctor bill, ain't done nothing for you but take your money? Ain't done nothing for you but take your money. You go to the game, spend your money, blah, blah, blah. They're getting rich, and you going home and saying, okay, how I'm going to pay this light bill because I just spent my light money going to a football game. That's real stuff. That's real talk, man. This real talk. It's funny. And I know we're running long, but this is important. This is important. This is really, really important. I want y'all to understand this one right here. I go to speak sometimes, right? And I sit there, and towards the end, I do this thing. And I says, I don't know any of your names whatsoever. I says, but when I count to 3, I want you to yell your names. And I go 1, 2, 3, they yell names. I can't make out no names, but it's just a whole bunch of noise. Whole bunch of noise. Then I go, well, what's your favorite team? I don't care if it's high school, college, NFL, whatever it is. I want you to yell it out. And they yell it out. Oh, and some of them get real loud. I said, how excited were you when the Georgia Bulldogs won the national championship. I said, you showed excitement about your name. You showed excitement about your team, you're loyal to. You showed excitement about, you got loud about the national champions, Georgia Bulldogs, but you don't get excited about God like that.
Oh, you gotta get excited about God.
You can't
always.
You don't get excited when somebody, it's like this, when you mention God or Jesus, guess what happens? What? But you go, oh, Stetson Bennett, yeah. Dude, come on, man. Come on, Desmond Ritter. Come on. Dude, I'm telling you, man. I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna get off the preaching part of it, but this is something that's
no. Keep going, because we need this, Coach Mathis. Keep going, please. If this offends anybody, hey, you can step.
I told you who I am. I told you who I am.
But no, we want you to do this. Keep going, please. Keep going, because this is a platform.
My wife and I were talking today, right? We were talking, and she has a prayer group that she has, right? And they were talking about tithing whatsoever. So one person in the prayer group was like, my husband don't tithe, blah, blah, blah. I do whatsoever. That's not this. So, my wife was telling her our story. We weren't tithers back in 97, but then when I got a new contract in 98, we tithe on everything. And it's just normal. That's what we do. 10% of whatever we make, I don't care how much it is, we're going to tithe on it, because we're building that treasure in heaven for the times when we need. He provides. And I'm not just talking about money. If I'm unhealthy and I'm going to him, and he's going to provide me good health, peace of mind, whatever it is, because we're good tithers. True story. This is a true story. So I did an event for NFL alumni whatsoever, and their pay periods is so crazy, right? So my next pay period for when I did my event with them is supposed to be July 17th. Okay, so me and my wife, we having this discussion about tithes and this and that and this, and how faithful we are and how faithful he is with us. So I go out, so she goes out walking, I go to the football field and I'm running whatsoever. She comes back, she says, guess what? The NFL just put that money in our checking account just now.
God is good all the time.
I says, baby, I says, we just gave him credit for how faithful he is to us because we're faithful to him. He says, I'm not going to let you wait for this money any longer. You get it now. So you can give your story and your testimony to those that are not tithers to understand that, hey, I am a provider. Whenever you need me, I'm a provide. And people don't get that. They don't get that. Oh, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that. Okay. All right. Okay. I tell you what, put $1 in the toilet and flush it and see if it comes back to you. It ain't coming back.
Nope.
But I guess if you tithe it to the church, look, and you worry about, well, if I'm picking my money to the church and made this big mega church whatsoever, you ain't giving it to this church. You're giving it to the Lord. Whatever they do with it is whatever they do with it. If your heart is pure and you're giving it to the Lord, he's going to bless you. Don't matter what they get. You ain't supposed to have that. If you're supposed to have that, God would have gave it to you. But what he gives you, what he has for you, he has for you. What he has for another man is for another man. So don't look at that man and say, oh, I should have that and I want that. Nope. God gave you what he wants you to have, or what you deserve at that moment. So stop looking at other people, seeing what they have. I want this, I want that, I want that. Yeah. Okay. You want things, but not like other people's, because you don't know how they got it. Yeah. So be careful for what you ask for.
You don't know. People don't know, like you say, people don't know the struggle. Like, look, so a lot of us, we were athletes, we didn't get to the level that you got to, and when you talk about it, Coach, people don't know folks' struggles to where they're getting to and how they get to that point, like you said. And people don't, and this is my thing. I've spoke heavily on it before, because I'm an advocate for mental health because I'm one of the ones who suffer from it, not just from my military days, but some other stuff too. But, speaking on this here, because a lot of people don't realize this, it's like, look, you got a lot of NFL players that don't know how to adapt when the game is over. You got a lot of military veterans who only know what they did and they don't know how to adapt. And this is where you get your suicide. This is where you get your obsessive drinking. This is where you get so many different things. I can honestly say if it wasn't for Killian, talking to Scoop, and a couple of people that I've talked to off the record, I was one I'm one that battled with suicide. I don't talk about it much, but you stood on the pulpit. You talked about some of your beliefs. I talk about it. I was raised in the church. I strayed away for a while. I'm getting back on my path. I'm like Steve Harvey. He's still working on me. But I'm there. But losing, and when you talked about promise, the hardest thing, and I'm trying not to get choked up saying it, so I apologize. Got to stay professional. But when I lost my grandmother, it hurt like hell because I promised her I would graduate. She had dementia and she suffered from it. She passed away a couple of months ago. My father passed as well recently. And I dealt with all of that, dealt with almost losing my girlfriend's life. These people that's in this group with me, my BirdCage crew, they literally held me together, and me doing this show saved my life. Because I've lost a lot. Lost my military career at one point. I'm not ashamed to say it. And when you say God gives you, I'm going to be honest with you. I wasn't supposed to be in this situation right now. I wasn't supposed to be right here. But everybody sees what you do, and no one sees the struggle. No one sees the story. No one sees all the losses you take to get to this point. And no one understands this. When you talk, I talk football, but I'm talking life right now. So if y'all not interested, I appreciate it. Thank y'all for supporting. But we gonna be real about this. We went over, but it's okay because we talking life. And we got people out here who follow this show. Understand, we struggle just like you do. We're not perfect. You see us on the camera, we go to our jobs every day. And we do things because Coach Mathis, he played at a high level playing football. He eventually walked away from the game. He retired, but he worked and he got to this point. He took losses before he got to the league. People don't realize this.
Losses in the league.
And losses in the league. We ain't going to talk about that because that Super Bowl loss, I know, took a lot out of you and everybody around the city. Lord.
You know what? It's funny. I'm gonna get you guys right here. My mic, my thing was still on as I was walking through the house whatsoever. Said, we ain't gonna ask him about Eugene Robinson. We ain't gonna ask him about Eugene Robinson.
That was me who said that. I wanted to be respectful. I wanted to be respectful to Mr. Robinson.
I was laughing. But you know what? Why not? Everybody else do. But here's my take on Eugene Robinson.
Hilarious.
It wasn't Eugene Robinson's fault that we lost that football game. People says, well, it was distraction.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Okay, let me ask you something. You tell me, I'm a grown man that's getting paid a lot of money to do a job. You tell me one man gonna distract me from playing at the best of my ability?
Yeah.
Nope.
There's no way. In the biggest game in NFL, that when I was 6 years old, saying I'm gonna play in the Super Bowl, you think one man gonna distract me from my dream? So if guys say Eugene Robinson was the reason why we lost, no, you were, because you let someone distract you from being the best that you can be on that day. Now, let me get that out the way. Secondly, Wednesday, we get the game plan, and it's nothing we did for all of the season leading up to that. We went on an 11-game winning streak doing what we were doing, and we get the game plan, and it could have been in Chinese, all I care, because I was like, what is this? I go to the meeting room with the quarterbacks, and I ask the coordinator and says, is this what we're doing on Sunday? And he goes, this is what Dan Reeves wants. Chris Chandler said, I said the same thing. This is garbage. That's exactly what Chris Chandler said to me on Wednesday. before we played the biggest game of our careers. And I'm going, I shook my head. I was like, then come to find out later on in some years, the defense did the exact same thing. That play Eugene Robinson got beat on, everybody wanted to blame Eugene on it, which it was between him and the corner, because Eugene was giving him the coverage because they was switching coverages, and the defensive back looked back to try to hear the coverage, and the ball was snapped when he should have been putting his hands on Rod Smith. Rod Smith ran straight scot-free as Eugene was rotating to get over top. And then he just ran a post right by him, caught it, touchdown. And everybody's like, oh, I says, people don't know the whole story about that game. It was, come on, man. People don't know the whole
story. Was that Ray on that coverage? Was that big play Ray that was the one who switched up, or was he on the other side?
No, he was on the other side.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I clarified that, because we had somebody just ask in the chat section. They were asking, was that Ray Buchanan?
No, it wasn't Ray. So, a lot of things happen. A lot of things happen, guys. A lot of things happen. A lot of things happen, man. I felt so free. I felt so free going into that game, because prior to that game, I did an interview with ESPN, and they asked me a question. It says, well, Terance, tell us, from when you were little to this point, how did you get to this point? So I went from when I first started, my love for the game, blah, 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 my triumphs, my struggles. So I talked about a struggle that I had in like 96 and 97 with alcohol, and I said I had to battle that. And if it wasn't for Craig Ironhead Hayward, I would not have, recovered from that, because he talked me through it every day. He was like, look, how are you today? What you doing? What you doing? What you doing? So I spoke about that to ESPN, and that's the only thing they ran. They didn't run about my mom is recovering from cancer and all these things, single mom, and they never talked about all that stuff. They just wanted to, he used to drink a lot. So I was like, wow. And so it was a public thing. It was USA Today. So I started getting letters from people saying, thank you. Thank you. I struggle. I started getting a letter from prisoners. Thank you. Thank you. And then Dr. Schuler, the evangelist, wrote me this long 2-page letter saying, God is going to bless you for being open and how much you help people. I was so free. And I was ready to play that game. I had angel wings on my shoes in that game. I was so ready to play, man. And I had released something that I just was holding on, and I was being a hypocrite for so long, because I go speak to kids about, hey, don't drink and drive, don't do this. But I was doing it. And I was like, and that set me free, man. And the thing is, sometimes, guys, we just got to go to God and says, hey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Forgive me. Set me free. Set me free. And that's what he wants. And, dude, hey, look, I'm not saying I'm perfect. We sin every day. There was only one perfect man that walked this earth, and that was Jesus Christ, who died for our sins.
Amen.
So we can be forgiven every time we sin. We can say, forgive us, Lord, for our sins.
And as he said in the Bible, he said, how many times are we supposed to forgive? 7 times 77.
Yeah.
So, that's a lot.
Man. So, here we are. I know we almost going into 2 hours, and I knew this was going to happen. See, I warned you guys. I have just so much to say, man. And the thing is that I appreciate guys like you to give me a platform to be who I am. I'm not going to come on here. I never go on a platform and pretend to be something that I'm not. I never go on a platform to just, we can vibe whatsoever, this and that and this, but I'm one about what I want to talk about. And sometimes I may go off script and do something, but that's where I'm led to go. That's why I jumped to that so fast. And you're like, you jumped to, I said, dude, look.
We just like giving you your flowers, Coach. We do that.
My biggest saying is, one of the biggest saying, I said, hey, the train is moving. It ain't stopping. If you want to jump off, you better jump off and tuck and roll, because we ain't stopping. Nope. I said, we ain't stopping. But guys, this, you know, I know we're over, and my wife is probably going, oh Lord, he running his mouth. That's what she always say. She said, you was running your mouth, wasn't you?
But you know what? And you can, and here's the thing, you can come back. Yeah. We want you to come back. So yeah. I'm opening that invitation. We've opened that invitation to our guest and Dr. Pender, specifically my Uncle Mel. Shout out to Uncle Mel, Dr. Pender. He's healing from his surgery. Yeah. He wanted me to make sure he told you. He said, now I'm gonna tell you this here. Now you make sure you let Terance know I was the first to come on here. So you know you keep the best always goes first. He understands that. But he also understands and he made sure he wanted me to tell you this. He said you would have never beat him in a foot race in his prime. He made sure to tell me to tell you that. So this is an 81-year-old man still talking trash.
He talking to me every time I see him.
But you know what he told me to tell you though? He said make sure that you do let him know that he can come back on the show. He said tell him Uncle Mel told him that he can come back. Let him know that I said. He said it's all right with me. He said I approve it. So I had to make sure I relayed that message to you, because if I wouldn't have, he's gonna go back and watch this show. Oh yeah, and I'm not gonna hear the last of it. You just didn't do what I told you, huh? You just don't listen. But we definitely appreciate you coming on, Coach. Go ahead, Killian.
Let me close it out like this. I know you guys, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate what you do. I respect what you do. Keep doing what you're doing. You know, real content. Always be real with your content. And I'm gonna say this to you. I love each and one of you brothers, man. I'm telling you, I just met you, but I love you. I love you because I want you to be successful. I want you to be healthy. I want you to be examples to your loved ones. I want you to be examples wherever you go. When you walk into a room, I want people to say, hey, there's something different about him. Don't just, you know, fall into the room and be the room, be like the room, be the room, be the room. And all you that's watching and listening whatsoever, hey, I love you too. I love you too. And I truly do. Don't know you, never seen you, I've never talked to you, but I love you, because here's the thing. If we love one another, all this hate will go. We'll conquer it. I'm telling you, we'll conquer it. You sit in my face, call me whatever you want to call me. I know who I am and I know who I belong to, and I'm going to laugh at you and walk away. I don't have to raise my voice. I don't have to raise my fists at you. Now, if you threaten me to a point where I have to, I got to defend myself. But one thing that I, you know, like somebody think, well, turn the other cheek. Well, I can't. No, I'm going to turn the other cheek, because at the end of the day, guess who I got to go home to? I go home to my wife. And then my children, I got to see my children's and their children. Mm-hmm. So I want to live that long. So that's why I can turn the other cheek and walk away. So listen, be the best you can be. Put God first. You put him first, and watch how things turn around in your life.
We went over a little bit tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We want to thank Coach. You know what? No, this ain't Coach. We want to thank the Reverend. The Reverend. How you say? Yes, so Mr. Randy Watson.
You ain't seen nothing.
Well, here's the thing. So we don't just do interviews. Like I said, we mainly gear things towards the Falcons during the season. We do analysis on the team. I do the halftime analysis. And here's the thing. Anytime you want to come to the show, during the season, especially it'd be nice to have you during the New Orleans game. I got a jacked up auntie. I love her, but I got a jacked up auntie who is a Baghead fan, and she's been letting me know about it. See, I need some extra birds, you know, some big birds to let her know what time it is. But we'd love to have you back.
Yeah.
During the season, Coach, and we would definitely love to hear your analysis and your breakdowns of games. Desmond Ridder coming up and how he can win this team.
Right.
and win this
I got you, man. I got you. And we'll be back soon. And when we come back, we coming back strong. We coming back.
I got some posters that I'm gonna make sure I send you that I sent you through the phone, but I'm actually gonna have some stuff printed off for you, like we do for all of our guests. I'm gonna make sure I have yours to you in the mail. So I'll get at you probably. I'll get at you a little later so I can get that information so I can get that to you. But we definitely appreciate you for coming through. We thank you for just being open with us and not just speaking about your football career, but speaking about life and giving seeds of wisdom that God laid on your heart for all of us.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you guys, man.
You truly appreciate.
God bless you.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Yeah, man.
So I want to thank Terance Mathis for coming on, the legendary New Orleans Saints killer for coming through tonight.
Hey, don't forget the Cobb County alum.
That's right.
Don't forget that.
All right, I'll make sure I say it. You know, he's an East Side legend, Mr. DeKalb County.
Yeah, you got McNair and Rita on this channel, man.
Yeah, Rita.
Represent.
I got it. You know what? It hurts a little bit because I was supposed to be a West Side baby playing over at Mays, or I would have been at Dub, one of the two. But at the end of the day, they sent me to Florida, Duval County, Brian Dawkins' hometown, and I balled out in Jacksonville. You know how it go. But
I'm just sorry you couldn't.
I wanted to play in Georgia, but you know what? I had no control over that. But
high school football.
Wait a minute, hold up. God, I put it this way: God, like they say this here, Coach. God gives you what you need, and at the time, that was what I needed in my life. Because if I probably would have been home, I probably wouldn't have been mature enough to be the man that I am that you see right now. And I might be one of those cats you talk about that's sitting behind that wall. So I'm just blessed that I had people that kept me in the church.
I truly
yes, sir. Well, we thank you guys for coming on to the show tonight. Want to thank Mr. Terance Mathis again, my main man, K-Duck. Last but not least, but he's first in my heart, my main man, Scoop, aka the Black Wall Street Journal, baby. Hey, we got some stuff that's going to be coming up. We're going to have an event coming up pretty soon. Still getting the venue squared away. And we're just thankful and grateful that you joined us tonight, man. We definitely love all of you. And if you have somebody that you love, tell them you love them. Life is short. You never know when it's going to happen. But, hey, well, what is going to happen is we're going to be back next week, baby. And we're going to do the darn thing. We got Mr. Mathis to come through here. We got some other legendary things that are going to be taking place with the BirdCage. We went a little over tonight. It's okay. 2 hours is long, but it was worth it tonight with that legend. Thank you for tuning in. We definitely love you. We'll see you next week at 8 o'clock. You already know how we get down. BirdCage, we out. Ghosts.